All right, so framing on this one's going to be a little bit of a trick. This is just a standard box fan. As you can see, one of the blades broke, and it likes to go dancing across the floor. If you try and use it. So I figured we'd pull it apart and see what's going on with it. Should be marginally interesting at worst. So I did actually look. You can't order replacement fan blades for this thing. I mean, clearly built down to a price. I think these things go for like maybe 15 bucks. All right, so standard sheet metal fasteners there. The body here is actually, looks like sheet metal, punch steel. Pretty thin gauge. Yeah, it's about 1.25, 1.3 millimeters. Pretty thin. For you Imperial types, that's about 38 thousandths thick. So I think that'd be like maybe like an 18 gauge. Sounds about right. Something like that. The front cover is just really cheap, really flimsy. Feels like ABS plastic. So here's the fan blade. Again, real cheap ABS plastic. It was just sitting in the bottom down there. Real cheap, real thin, real flexy. So before I pry this off, we can see the switch here. Maybe you can see the switch there. Has 2 leads coming in and 4 leads coming out. I'm guessing that this switch is just going to be a potentiometer. I'd be very surprised if we actually had separate windings in the fan to change speed. There is actually a part number on there. Well, too late now. I already broke the front of it. Maybe I could have actually found a replacement blade. Saved myself all of, well, probably $10 for the fan by the time it was shipped. So probably still wouldn't be worth it. So it appears that we've got an AC induction motor with a capacitor. So this is going to be using a capacitor to offset one of the phases to create rotation. And of course this thing suffers from the classic broken nylon foot that they all suffer from. And the other one is just missing altogether. So that seems to be fairly standard with these box fans. I wish they would come up with a better foot design. For strain relief on the cord back here, let me try and get this to where you can see it. All right, for strain relief, they've got, it looks like it's a molded on piece there that just slides into a notch. So I'm guessing this whole body is punched out, and these pieces appear to be spot welded in. So they just have a pinch welder that comes in and will pinch weld both of those together. I'm guessing that the 2 edges get bent up here, so this whole body comes out as a straight section, and then it looks like they probably bend it around a die, and it is pinch welded here as well. So you see that on body panels a lot on cars. I mean, actually, for something like this, that's a pretty good application. I mean, it's quick and cheap, and this thing doesn't have to last forever, and it's not in harsh conditions. Generally, it's sitting in your window, you know, blowing air in or out at worst. On car bodies, this is kind of crappy just because, you know, moisture can get underneath and in between and start rusting out, because you obviously can't get paint or any sort of protection up underneath these joints. So it is what it is. But anyway, just about into the meat of the whole thing. The cable is just epoxied in, well, hot snot some sort of glue holding the actual wire in. Oops, sorry, my bad. Got the body out of the way here. This is just the retaining ring. This actually feels like it could be nylon. Ooh, it's got a patent number. I suppose we could look that up and actually see who designed this thing. This feels like could be ABS or nylon. No reinforcing glass fiber, carbon fiber, anything like that, whatever it is. And finally, we get to the motor, which has a die-cast or cast aluminum body. This feels like the same stuff that they make like alternators and stuff out of, just a lot thinner. That high silicon aluminum. Jeez. All right, so here's the actual motor. So we've got, I don't know, I have to separate that out. Well, let's have a look at the switch first, because that's going to give us more clues. So we've got a left and a neutral. Or maybe that's live and neutral. We've got neutral 1, 2, 3. And the switches on these, if you've ever owned one of these or used one of these, you know that it goes from off to high to middle to low, which would be indicative of it being some sort of potentiometer. Let me see if I can break this open. Maybe. All right, so we got 4 leads that come in and just get crimped. So it looks like someone would just hold this in place, and this guy, when it snaps on, actually crimps all the wires in place. That's actually kind of clever from a manufacturing standpoint. Tower Manufacturing Corp, another patent number on there. 3 amps, 125 volts AC. So maximum of 3 amps at 125 volts. That's a 300 watt fan. That's not a whole lot of power. As you know, if you've ever used one, they're really not that powerful. So something else must be going on here. We must be powering different sets of windings. My guess would be, here was the wiper. So we've got, so we've got 3 sets of wipers. So we are powering more or less sets of windings in the motor. I think I see this. So this is how this works. This is going to dictate, this must be how it works, because otherwise I don't see how it could make contact. So we got 3 different sets of wipers there, and which one of these you're on dictates how fast the motor turns. So that means the changing in speed must be happening in here. So I don't know if we're going to be able to easily discern what's going on as far as if we're powering multiple windings or what's going on. I would guess that that's what's happening as we switch through. Let me bust these wiring bundles apart, and we'll see. Only other interesting thing here, the detent action comes from this little spring and these little dogs facing on that little spring. So that's where you get all the detent action. Jeez, focus. For the switch. So, it's kind of cool. Okay, so we have a start capacitor here, which is this guy. 4 microfarads, plus or minus 4 microfarads, or nano. No, micro. Micro? Micro. Plus or minus 10, or plus 10, minus 5%, 250 volts AC, 50, 60 hertz, and then a temperature rating. I wouldn't think that would also be like a thermofuse or anything. So we've got just some, feels like, well, it's just like heat shrink tubing here in a couple places. Electrician's tape. And then we get to the windings. Discerning what is going on is going to be a little difficult. So we've got a return neutral wire, which is this guy. So these are going to be the high, low, well, high, medium, and low wires. See, they were crossed, something like that. So I think that what's probably going on here, it's going to be a little difficult to see and trace all these wires out, is you're going to be powering more or less windings, depending on what's going on. So all these windings are going to be in parallel with each other. And if you go, yeah, I think it's just going to affect the number of windings that you're running. So this guy has 2 wires coming out of it. This guy has like 6. And this guy had, or I'm sorry, yeah, 2. And this guy had maybe 2 before I broke off the capacitor, or 1. So that's going to affect your high and low. So like, for example, and I'm just kind of, oh my gosh, framing, sorry. Okay, so I was saying, in case I need to edit that back in, this wire has, looks like it's going to maybe 4 or 6, has 6 wires coming out of it. So it would be going to, looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 poles on here. Kind of hard to discern exactly what's going on. But anyway, this one is going to be powering more of them. This one looks like it's powering 2, and this looks like it was powering 2. And then you had one of these was the shunt winding for the capacitor to actually start the motor. So what I think's happening here is, like, let's say, for example, in low, you'd only be powering maybe, 2 or 3 of these poles or 4 of these poles. When you switch to medium, you get 2 more poles, and when you go to high, you're powering all the poles, and they'd be in parallel. So you're going to pull more and more power as you go. And just the wind resistance of the fan is what's actually dictating the speed, right? Because if there were no wind resistance, it would spin pretty much just as fast. Well, other than the inertia of the fan, of course. It would spin just as fast with 2 poles as it would with 6 or 7. Here's the actual armature. It's got these, iron windings in there. None of these should be permanently magnetized. Or this one, actually, I'm sorry. This armature, nope. Yeah, none of it permanently magnetized. Yeah, you can see it's weakly magnetic. Same thing in there. And then we've got the laminations on the outside to help separate the fields. I guess only other thing to look at here, front and back, we appear to have just a bushing for the shaft to ride on. It doesn't look like brass. It might be an iron, like a cast iron bushing. Let me see if I can easily pop that. All right, so just a retaining ring. And then we've got, yeah, feels like probably just a cast iron bushing front and back, which nothing really wrong with that. I mean, for the application that it's in, probably lasts a very long time. Is this just built up? Looks like it was grease at one point with dust in it now. So there may have been some lubrication in there at one point. Of course, it's completely soaked up dust and become just a glob. Probably the same thing in the back here. Yeah, kind of looks like the same thing. See all the grease settled out to one side. But yeah, that's about all there is to it, I think. Jeez, I am just having trouble staying in frame today. Sorry about all that. Anyway, I think that's all there is to it. Hope this was at least interesting to somebody. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.